Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this December 20th meeting of the Development Review Board to order. And thank you all for coming out this evening. And I will turn it over first to Meredith to review the meeting procedures, particularly the remote meeting procedures for this unique situation we are in. Yes, Kevin.
Don't forget to introduce the members.
Oh, yeah.
You want to do that first?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
So,
usual order.
I'm going to introduce members of the board, starting on my right.
Hi there, Catherine Burgess, DRB.
Kevin O'Connell.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
And I'm Rob Goodwin, chair. And on the Zoom platform, we have
I'm Joe Kiernan, DRB.
Abby White, DRB.
And Michael Lazorchak, DRB.
Alrighty, thank you. Go ahead, Meredith.
All righty. So for everybody on Zoom, you're going to see a shared screen here. Hold on one second. There we go. And this is in part for anybody watching at home via ORCA, so that they can log in and attend if they want to. And then also other people who might be attending via Zoom who aren't used to this setup yet. So if you are watching this meeting via ORCA, you can participate in tonight's Development Review Board meeting using the Zoom platform. You can just log in using this link, or you can call into the meeting using this phone number and meeting ID number. If you're trying to do so and you're having problems, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. That email address is at the bottom of your screen. That will remain there while I go through the rest of these remote meeting procedures. For those attending via Zoom, turning on your video is optional. For everyone that's attending, please keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise. If you're on the phone via Zoom, you can use *6 on your phone to mute or unmute. If you're on the Zoom platform, please use the chat function only for logistics or troubleshooting questions. Any questions or comments about content or actual items on the agenda, please raise your hand. If you're on Zoom and we can see you physically, or in a break, if you're on the phone, and you can also just state your name. And we'll also, I know right now we just have Susan on via phone, so we'll check in with you, Susan, because we know what items you're going to want to talk on. I'm going to skip over some of this stuff because we don't really have any just general members of the public. Everybody here is pretty much for an application or related to an application. In the event that I get notice that the public is unable to access this meeting, and that would be through my email, the meeting will need to be continued to a time and place certain. I'm going to hand this back over to Rob.
Okay, so at this time, I will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. I believe there's one change here. So Kevin, do you have a motion?
I will make the motion to approve the agenda for this evening with this modification. Item number 7, 1 North Franklin Street, and item number 8, 25 Cliff Street, be changed into reverse order so that Cliff Street is addressed before the Franklin Street application.
Okay, we have a motion by Kevin. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Joe.
Second by Joe. Okay, so we will call the roll to vote. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And Rob, myself, votes yes. That is approved unanimously. Okay, so yes, thank everyone for coming out tonight. We have 2 items on the agenda. The approval of the change here was just to accommodate somebody that could not make it this evening, instrumental to the Cliff Street application. And I believe everyone has been informed of this change ahead of time. And so we'll very briefly take up the 25 Cliff Street application.
Minutes first.
Oh.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
think you have it in your packet, but you can use mine.
No, okay. Sorry, I forgot about that part. I got it all up. I just don't have the minutes. That's the only thing I don't have. So I will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the December 6th meeting. And those eligible to vote are myself. Yes?
I think that was a cough.
No.
We have enough people for it?
We do.
Okay, so you, Catherine, Joe, Abby,
Abby.
Michael.
Yep.
Yes?
You
No.
can't,
Sorry.
you
Oh,
can't
no,
make the
yeah,
motion.
Make the motion.
Yeah.
The motion
I
to
move,
approve.
yeah.
He-
Make the motion to approve.
Then someone needs a second. I
We
can't,
need-
I wasn't there.
And
Well,
we
that's,
need,
you weren't there.
Oh,
Oh, I was there.
thought-
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were. Sorry, my bad.
Catherine
I
was
missed,
there.
for some reason, I missed that. I'm
so
sorry.
Catherine has made a motion for the December 6th minutes approval. Is there a
I'll-
second?
I'll second. This is Joe.
Joe, second from Joe. I'll call the roll. So Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Joe, how do you vote?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
And Rob, myself votes yes. That is approved unanimously.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we will move into the 25 Cliff Street application very briefly. And I would entertain a motion on this application. We gotta open the,
I don't think I said to them when we have to continue it to. I haven't checked with them on the second date.
okay. So does the applicant have anything to say about this hearing? We have to continue this because we do not have a staff person available to review it. Is there a date certain at which you can do it? It does not appear that we are going to be able to take this up at the next DRB meeting. Is Arthur on and Diane, is it?
Susan,
Susan,
yeah, so can I
Yes.
step in?
go ahead.
So I conferred with the staff, Michael Miller, for this. Or I've had an update on his situation, and January 3rd is not gonna work. So the next possible date we'd be looking at is Tuesday, January 18th, this time, 7 o'clock. Would that be doable for you, Susan?
Yes,
Okay, and Arthur, would that be doable for you?
I believe so. It's going to take me a minute to actually be able to answer that.
Yes, go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, I should be able to make that.
Okay,
Okay,
awesome.
so it's January 18th.
Yep, Tuesday, January 18th, because the 17th is a holiday.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to
Continue.
continue on Tuesday, January 18th, the 25 Cliff Street application.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we will have a second and a motion. So we will call the roll. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Abby?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And Rob, myself votes yes. That is approved unanimously.
Arthur, Susan, thank you for being on tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay, so our next item on the agenda for this evening is the 1 North Franklin Street application. Now, first thing we need to do is everyone that is planning on speaking on tonight's application, we need to swear you in as witnesses. So is there anybody on the Zoom platform that will be speaking on this application? No? Okay. So all those interested in providing testimony on this application, would you raise your right hand and to be sworn in as a witness? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? Alrighty, thank you. So if one of you,
Or
whoever's,
two, whoever is going to be actually representing the
Yeah.
application in general could come up and sit in front of the laptop and then make sure that microphone is close to you. Yep.
You're going to give the staff
Overview. Yep,
perspective.
yep, I can
overview.
do, yeah, but just making sure that they're up there so they can respond at the
Yes.
microphone.
Understood.
Yep, I'll still do the overview for sure.
okay. Would you just like to introduce yourself real quick? And
Yes, my name is Elaine Watson. I'm the president of the Sawmill Condo Association at 1 North Franklin.
thank you very much.
Feel free to pull that microphone as close to you as you want so that it catches everything.
Do you want me to just go ahead and say?
Well, so we're going to have Meredith will give a brief overview of the application, and then we'll sort of,
Yeah.
let you give your overview of what
I
you
stick to
submitted.
mostly procedural stuff.
Yeah.
So, in this application, it's sort of a question about definitions. What's on the site at the Sawmill condos right now, there's a garbage enclosure, and really based on the way the terminology we have in our zoning regulations, the way I look at it is it's a fence for privacy, to keep all the garbage in, to contain that area. The condo association wants to put a roof on it, which makes perfect sense. But once you put a roof on it, it's really not a fence anymore. Fences are accessory structures that do not have setbacks, that can be right up to a boundary. Other accessory structures under section 3003 have modified setbacks that are a little different from like big buildings, but they still have setbacks. They can't be right up to the boundary. And this particular garbage enclosure is up against the front boundary line. And for front boundary lines, it really doesn't matter what structure it is. If it's not a fence, it really needs to meet the 10-foot front setback. And so I could have just had them apply for a permit and then denied it and had it come to the board on appeal, and that just seemed too silly. So it's just come right to the board to figure out if they can see a solution that I can't, so that they can put a roof on this without having to move the whole thing back 9 to 10 feet from the front property boundary. There is an option in here for a waiver, but it's a 10% waiver to that front setback. So that would only get them to 9 feet. And right now it's at between 3 and 4 feet from the front property boundary. If you say the front property boundary is the back of the sidewalk. So it's a little complicated, but on the other hand, it's really, how does the board feel about the situation and how do they see it under the regs? Make sure you're by the microphone.
Can't we simply grant a variance or a waiver? I think that even if it's not explicitly in the ordinance, it's certainly implied, and we can just.
So that would be, so the waivers are much more specific since the 2018 regs. So the waiver wouldn't work if the board felt that this could meet all of the variance criteria. Then maybe the board can see it where I can't,
Well,
right?
we
But
should go
it's
through
something to go through and look at
Right,
for
we need-
sure.
We need to
But
do that.
that I didn't have them pay the extra money to apply for that variance because
Well, we can
I
always
couldn't
apply.
see it meeting the variance, but
Yeah.
you guys can have them amend their application in the hearing if you want.
Yeah.
If you see it. which
Well, I
is-
think before we
done
get
that
too
before.
much, we'd love to, hear from the applicant.
let's
You
hear
can
the
present your application and we'll have some questions.
Uh,
Do you mind if I give you something?
Oh, yeah, if you have additional pictures, feel free.
Yeah, I took a picture today to show you what the situation is.
The situation with the snow and ice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And, right, we gotta fix that.
Yeah, so what we have is, we built this as I call it a structured.
Make sure you're at the microphone,
I'm
otherwise the other board
I'm
members
so
can't hear
sorry.
you.
Okay, yes. We built this, when I first became president, we had a dumpster in the middle of the parking lot, and it was really ugly.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
so I suggested that we build a structure to contain the garbage containers. And so we did, and we didn't, I mean, I don't know if at that point we even knew we needed to get permission for
Right.
that. It just,
You got a permit.
okay, we did get a permit. Okay, thank you. We got a permit, okay. So, the reason I took this, it was good that today when we've had the snow and you can see what our situation is in the winter. We have elderly people that live there, including me, and it is dangerous in the winter.
Yeah, that's really evident.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going off script here a little bit, and I apologize, but this is something that's near and dear to my heart. Fall prevention is really important when people
Yes.
are aging. It makes all the entire difference. I just hope we can find a solution here.
Yeah.
Without too much hassle.
Thank you. So that's where we got letters I went and talked to all the neighbors that were, and they all support it. There's 2 letters that Meredith included in the packet. One is the condo association across the street, and the other one is a woman that lives on the corner of Cross Street and North Franklin Street. So she abuts our property. I went and talked, she was concerned because she shares, there's a fence between her place and ours. And so I went over and talked to her and told her exactly what it was about. And she said, oh, that's great, no problem. And so she said, I support you totally. And so I said, well, would you write a letter? So she did. And I also, because I realized then that all the neighbors had gotten, I talked to all the neighbors that they'd gotten letters. And Donna Bate, who lives in the condo across, that looks out at this structure, also wrote a letter of support. And I think one of her concerns is she's having to look at it ugly. If there's a roof there, it might be a little bit easier to look at. So I don't see a downside except for the fact that there's there's this issue with the permit, the rules that we're actually trying to say, can we get approval to do this, even though there are, it could be construed to be not in compliance, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna check and make sure Abby, Joe, and Michael got my email.
Yeah, go ahead.
Abby, Joe, Michael, I just want to make sure that you all got the email I sent with the letters that Elaine has been referencing. I circulated that earlier this afternoon.
I
Okay,
did, yes.
awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So do you have anything more you want to backstory or anything like that?
We have Dan Wetmore is
Yep.
the person that would.
You can go to the stand-up mic if you want.
Dan is the person that would build the roof, and so we asked him to be here, and thank you, Dan, for coming.
Sure. I just wanted to add one thing, that is, I was talking to you, Meredith, right?
Probably.
Down in the basement over
Yeah.
there. One of the issues that you brought up is that because it's so close to the sidewalk, the roof can't go past that side of it. So basically, if we project straight up along this side of it, that left side of the photo, then have it shed towards the driveway.
Mhm.
And just wanted to point out that that's the design. I don't have any sort of final design for this because I'm not never sure it's going to happen, but that's what we would do. We would have it shed towards
Go into our parking lot,
the
not
parking lot.
onto
They'd probably
the
lose
sidewalk.
one parking space, which is better than losing 2 or 3 and building a big box somewhere else.
I just actually had a couple questions, maybe if you care.
Dan?
Yeah, I don't know if you have a general, idea of like how tall the roof would be above the fence, or just a generally conceptual idea of like, what the construction would look like.
One of the issues of this is that it was built as it's just built along the grade of the ground.
Yeah.
So that the different walls of the fence or the structure are all, they're parallel to each other, but they have they're not even across the top.
Mm.
Mhm.
If you know what I mean?
Yep.
So what I would have to do is I would essentially have to like sister on new posts that would travel up above this wall, and then whatever would be a decent height for a tall person on the right-hand side would be the minimum height over here, and then the top of the shed roof would have to be high enough so that works over there. Again, I haven't designed it yet because it wasn't quite sure what was going to happen and things got put off. So, but it would be a simple shed roof. My idea is that it would be a simple shed roof that is essentially open. In other words, this fence here is the only fence that's there. And then the rest of it, there would be some structure, there would be some lumber that's going up, there'd be a frame that would be visible. Does that help?
Yeah, that does help. So would this be like new posts, or extensions of the existing posts in there on the ground?
I would say it again.
Would it be new posts, or would you just be, extending from the existing fence post?
Oh, I would attach new posts side by side to the existing posts. I'm not going to be digging down to found new posts, and I can't just add a new post to the top. I have to create a vertical structure that will hold together. It's a bit challenging, but it can be done.
Okay. No, what is it? Asphalt pavement under there, or gravel, or
Yes, asphalt.
asphalt? Okay. I think that's all I had.
Thank you, Dan.
Board members have any other questions at this time?
Not at this time.
I actually have a quick question. Currently, the situation, I see this picture on the front of the staff report. That's the existing situation out there with that door on the front. So in the other picture, I saw a couple of dumpsters. Are there still dumpsters in there? Large
Yeah.
dumpsters that need to be picked up?
No, there are big, what do I say?
Rolling bins?
They're bins, yeah. they're
Okay,
bins.
all right,
There's
now
no
I
dumpsters.
understand. I
Yep,
see.
Joe, the picture in the staff report with dumpsters was to show what was there before the enclosure was put in place.
I
Because I was going through the history, so that was
6 years.
pre-application to even have the enclosure.
Right.
And then they built the enclosure, and now we're talking about changing the enclosure.
Okay, so the truck pulls up, the guy gets out, he pulls the bins out, they get loaded into the
Yes,
garbage truck
yes.
and then replaced. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
So do you have any specificity or sort of guidance or requirements from the trash pickup company as to where this needs to be located, or?
They have not, we've been using them, Casella for years and it works for them.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be a lot easier for them not have to go into what you're seeing starting for the winter, which they've done every year without complaint, surprisingly. I think the reason we're bringing it up is because as we age and as we have more elderly people in our community, it's just not safe.
It's not safe
It's
under
not
any
safe.
circumstance.
Okay. Kevin, do you want to jump in and take the lead on anything, or should I just charge forward?
No, I just go ahead. I'll back you up 100%.
Okay. So I think as discussed with Meredith, I mean, there's a couple directions we could, go with this. I mean, there's one where we could do a waiver, or you could request, a waiver. And I think that, if we went that route, the board might be willing to sort of amend the application for that request, here. Hold on.
Sorry, the waiver or the variance? The waiver is the one where it has to be set back
Yes.
at least 9 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure.
And so as she, explained, we're only allowed to grant a waiver, 10%. So it's a 10-foot.
I guess I don't understand that.
So it's a 10-foot setback. We're allowed to basically reduce that to 9 feet under the waiver criteria. Which, I don't know exactly how far this,
Well,
structure is, from the setback line or whatnot. Maybe that's something you guys have to figure out. But so that's a direction that we could go first, is exploring that option.
Right, that would mean they're moving the whole thing probably.
Probably.
Because it's, right now, it's between 3 and 4 feet from the back of the sidewalk.
Right.
and that's what we are trying to avoid because of the prohibitive cost of doing that and
Right.
losing more.
And to my colleagues here, I just have to say, I mean, I know that this is stretching the envelope a little bit, but, winter's coming, and we have a bunch of elderly folks that have to get to a place to do their recycling.
I don't think they can hear you.
Yeah, just make sure.
Yeah, to do their recycling, and we can't have people falling down, breaking hips and collarbones and such, which is what happens.
So what I'm hearing from you is that, if you had a 9-foot, setback based on the information you have, your understanding, Meredith said that, it's 3 to 4 feet from the, the edge of sidewalk. If you had to have that fence 9 feet from the front property line or wherever that front setback falls, you would have to move
We would have to physically
move it.
move
Yes.
the whole thing
Which-
and at a prohibitive cost.
Right.
And it can't just be moved, it would be a totally new construction.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, if we had to move it,
Make sure you've got the microphone pointed at you.
this is Cynthia Goff here. If we had to move it, would we be able to have a parking space on the side where it is now?
Oh,
Because otherwise we'd lose parking spaces and we really don't have parking spaces enough as it is.
So I'm seeing a nod here from Meredith that,
Yeah.
that parking spaces, there's
It's-
no setback, so a
yeah, parking
space could-
spaces can be right, I mean, you would still want that like 2 feet between the back of the, where you have your flower bed would probably still need to be there because DPW needs that room to pile the snow when they plow. But parking spaces need to be 8.5 feet wide. So you would be able to shimmy a parking space in there, I think, as long as it fit in your measurements. So that is an option and a way that the board could approve this, but it would entail you having to move the whole thing, which wouldn't happen this winter, because you'd have to dig in new supports, right?
It'd also be a whole new process, right?
Not necessarily, as long as what was built was consistent with what the board approved, that would be a possibility to get a permit to say, yes, you can do this, but you have to move the whole thing over, right? And then we would just need a final site plan from you here in our office. not visiting the board again.
That would be super expensive.
Right,
Yeah.
right, no, and but this is,
Yeah.
just to step in on process here.
Yep.
It's important that the board goes through the different analyses in here on the record and gets information from you
Yep.
so that they can figure out how to make a decision, so.
I'm just trying to sort of weed out, figure out what direction we can go in, because it doesn't appear that us going through the waiver process is benefit you, if that would result in you having to move the move the structure. So I think that we are, moving on to, so maybe another avenue to explore here.
Yeah, so I guess what we are asking permission to do is build a roof where it is. That's our goal.
And so I guess the path forward, we would, have to explore the idea of some type of variance here. So Meredith, can you read us the variance criteria?
Yep, not a problem. All right, so in figure 4-04, this is in section 4603 of the zoning regulations. There are 6 general variance criteria that have to be met for the board to approve a variance. And a couple of these I might paraphrase when I can skip some stuff that doesn't apply here. So first criteria, that there are unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of partial size or shape, or other physical conditions peculiar to that particular property, and the unnecessary hardship is due to these conditions and not the circumstances or conditions generally created by the bylaw in the neighborhood or district. 2, because of these physical circumstances or conditions, there is no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformance with the provisions of the bylaw, and that the authorization of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. 3, unnecessary hardship has not been created by the applicant. 4, the variance, if authorized, shall not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located, substantially or permanently impair the lawful use or development of adjacent property, reduce access to renewable energy resources, or be detrimental to the public welfare. And 5, the applicant is proposing the least deviation possible from these regulations that shall afford relief. So there was 5, with one of them having subparts. Do you have those up on your screen,
can.
Rob, so that you can?
I can't, I'm not logged into the Zoom, but.
Oh, do you want me to show? Oh, no, I just didn't know if you had them up, but
I
I
have
can
them
share
up,
them.
yes.
Give me a second and I can share them. Let me just pull them up on my thing so that the board members can see them. You guys, you can chat
Yep.
while I'm pulling that.
So that was a lot of words.
Yes, sorry.
I
had to get it in the record.
Right. And so, I mean, this is kind of where it makes our job difficult. Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I guess this is more a question to Meredith. Meredith, can we modify the appellant's request to include a variance?
That we've done this in the last 3 years,
Yep.
where
Okay.
the applicant has come before and the board basically goes through and gets rid of all the other options, but there's a variance that
I
could be
just-
done. The board has done this before. I remember explicitly
Let's-
Dan Richardson doing this at
Yes.
least
Let's-
once or twice.
Let's get that size 8 shoe
Yeah.
into the 7.
Yeah.
That size 8, wait a minute, size 8 foot into the 7 foot, size 7 shoe. That's what I'm trying to say.
So if we're going to go the route of this variance, I mean, we're going to need to have you officially, request, a variance. So would you like to this evening explore the avenue of requesting a variance from this board?
If that will allow us to put the roof on the structure where it is, yes.
Well, we have no guarantees that's the outcome of the process, but I think, as the chair, that's the closest that we think we can get to maybe getting there. But we
The
need to
ordinance
discuss.
is not clear on this, and this is. I'm sorry, the ordinance is not clear on this, and so we're trying to bend things to make them fit.
But you still need to get at least 4 board members agreeing
Yes.
and voting in favor of what's going to happen, but we're trying to find a path forward. So for board members at home, and you can see it up here too,
Yeah.
the general variance column, right? So criteria is 1 through 5 are what need to be met. And to me, some of these seem clear yeses, but some of them, it's going to be up to the board to figure it out.
Okay. Well, I think we should start with number 1, and we'll discuss it and see if see if it fits, and then we can go on to the next one. So I'll just read it again to help myself anyway. There are unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of parcel size or shape, or exceptional topographical or other physical conditions peculiar to the particular property, and that unnecessarily hardship due to these conditions are not the circumstances or conditions generally created by the provisions of the bylaw in the neighborhood or district in which the property is located. So when I read this, my take is that this is more for a variance from not instances related to maybe this situation. Maybe board members have other take on this. Number 1. Yes.
Yeah, can make sure the microphone's in front of you. It'll help the people on Zoom as well as the minute taker.
Okay, so it does seem to me that the situation, why we have the trash area where it is because of the physical condition of the shape of the land.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a long, thin piece of property, and we have the parking spaces on the left as you go in, and then the condos are on the right.
Yeah.
And as you go toward the back, the parking area gets more and more narrow. So there really isn't another place we could put the trash other than that spot. So if that's at all what that's implying, which I think it might be, it seems like that could be a yes.
So
Go
I'm
ahead,
trying to
Meredith.
remember if do I have an image of the full parcel in the staff
I
report?
think you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I think,
From above, an aerial view?
yeah, I think there was
Dumpster.
a map. Well, I know that, no, we don't have. I know there was on your
Maybe in the
website.
landscaping?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to the landscaping, so page 13 of the staff report, you can see
Yep.
how the parcel and the parking area narrows to the back, and how it would be difficult for a trash truck, a garbage truck to get back in there to get to stuff, and be able to maneuver.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm okay with number 1. Any board members have any comment?
I'm good with number 1 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the circumstances are such that we can use number 1 in this particular instance.
Does anyone want to take the lead on number 2?
I think my read of number 2, it's the key point here, in my opinion, is the reasonable use of the property. And I think the reasonable use of the property is you're seeking a safer environment for people to get to and from the trash. And so it's, I see this as the 2 as being aligned with what you'd need to achieve, work down the checklist.
I would second those comments. And Rob, if it's okay with you, I'll take on number 3.
Yes, please.
And unnecessary hardship has not been created by the appellant, and clearly we have not. In gone out there and created a hazardous situation. Um, um, And so, yeah, that would not have, the unnecessary hardship um, has not been created by you.
Do you have, you guys can see this right here. Do you have any comments on two and 3?
So unnecessary hardship has not been created, I'm saying that, I mean.
You have not created that.
We
Yeah.
didn't create this.
We didn't
No.
create this,
It's
no,
a
well, we did
winner.
create it.
Well-
The unnecessary hardship is that if we have to move it back, then that's an unnecessary, to me, because of cost. Because of cost. That's, I'm thinking.
I'm thinking that your safety is more
And
important than the
safety is
cost.
the biggest reason that I
Right.
care about it.
Mhm.
But if we have to move it, it's, you know, there's.
But the
additional-
safety is the main concern.
The safety is definitely the main concern.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if unnecessary hardship is this intended to only refer to the property owner or also to adjacent? I think you have the letter of support from your neighbor as well, saying that this addition of the structure is in fact an improvement for them.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's that comment helps.
yeah.
Okay. So, number 4. Variance, if authorized, shall not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located, substantially or permanently impair the lawful use or development of adjacent property, reduce access to renewable energy resources, or be detrimental to the public welfare. Any thoughts?
Seems like this one kind of speaks for itself.
And I would agree, it's not going to change the character of the neighborhood, and if anything, it'll improve the presentation at 1 Franklin,
No.
North Franklin.
Are there any other non-conforming structures we know of that are, set back on North Franklin Street? Not
I
sure.
have no idea. And I mean, and the thing is, even though I'm saying this is changing it from A8, all right, hold on. I'm gonna mute you, Joe. Even though I'm saying this is changing it from a fence to a structure that has a different type of setback requirement,
Yeah.
it's not like they're building something new,
Right.
right? So I don't know, is looking at other structures on the street is really gonna, that really matters so much. I mean, it's that we clearly have support from the neighbors.
Sure. Well, I think I will add, I just know that, previous applications, we have identified, maybe not on this street, but in this neighborhood, that there are certainly, buildings that are, non-conforming when it comes to the front yard, setback. And so I would check that in the box of, not altering the essential character of the neighborhood. I don't know
Well,
that.
you look at most of the architecture down there was certainly built before the zoning regulation was in effect in 1971. So, there's a lot of nonconformity with those older buildings.
Yeah. All right, so we have to meet all the criteria. I believe we've gone thoroughly through 4 of the 5 criteria. So the 5th is the applicant is proposing the least deviation possible from these regulations that shall afford relief. I guess maybe I would pose this as a question, do you see any other other ways at which you could fix this?
We've been thinking about this for a long time. And this is the solution that we felt was the most affordable and also the one that's going to be most effective, and not change the nature very much of the appearance.
I think when Dan spoke too, we're not talking about putting like a big shed roof and closing it in or anything. It's just only as high as it needs to be to provide the slope for the snow to come off into the parking lot and still be able to walk in there. So it's just as small as it can be, to serve the purpose that we're hoping to provide is the safety.
And there's plenty of air circulation.
in the
Yeah, that's
building.
the other, we don't want to
Good-
close.
Good idea.
Right.
We actually looked into
You
getting
know, or the vermin
a
that come with it.
building a structure, I mean, not, buying a structure that, and then we realized, wait, there's gonna be garbage in here, so there's reason to have it very aerated.
Yep.
I mean, I guess one aspect of this, just to make sure we sort of, dig in, is that, so the existing fence, it's a pre-existing nonconformity when it comes to the height. I believe that's in the staff report. Everyone see that, what page that is, or what's the height of the existing fence? Is it like 7 feet?
6 feet.
6 feet?
6 feet, but the front yard under the current regs, it's 4.5. But the structure, right?
Yeah.
The roof has a 35-foot max height.
Sure.
Just if you were starting to go to the height.
Sure. No, I mean, I think what I was getting at is that, is there an angle here where we can maybe reduce the nonconformity of the fence, build a roof and whatnot? I'm just throwing it out there for discussion to, an analysis here, that, I think that the fence can be, 4.5 feet, but it's the same 10% waiver. Is that right, Meredith?
Yep, that's right. Now, just hold on. Yeah, because it's the side and rear yard fences where the board has greater discretion for taller fence. That front yard fence back is usually, or fence max height is, 4.5 feet, and then theoretically you could maybe use the 10% waiver.
Yeah.
I guess because fences are mentioned in 3003.
Right. So like a 5 foot would be.
Yeah, we've dealt with that before. It's just under 5 feet.
Well, and so, I mean, just to talk a little bit, I think that the reason behind that was, was sight lines on the road. And so is there a driveway like just on the, what would be the north side of the?
There's a hedge, so, I mean, there's quite a bit, there is a driveway on the right past us, right?
Yeah.
And I've talked to those neighbors.
Yeah.
There's a cedar hedge.
There's a large cedar hedge that separates us from the neighbors. The cedar goes kind of right. So I don't know how to say this, but they're close.
It's in the photograph.
Yeah. Is it?
Cedar comes in at the right hand side.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, on the front of the staff report.
Yeah.
You can see the cedar hedge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think my only concern of the existing is, is potentially a sight line, for that driveway and, safety of pulling out and the fence in the way. But I'm just throwing that out there for discussion. Not that
Right.
that matters or feel either way. So if board members have any thoughts on that? Guess not.
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I think with the sidewalk and then also that planted area there's plenty of room for a car to pull forward and see around just about anything that's put there.
Yeah, you're right. There's no problem. The way the garden is there, the sidewalk, the little garden, you can easily see up North Franklin.
Plus, there will be some structure, obviously, to hold the roof up, but they're mostly going to be some, vertical 4x4s on either end of that wall and something in the middle. There won't be a lot of extra wood there to block view. There will be some. There wouldn't be a lot. There wouldn't be a wall there. The height of the fence would be the same.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe I'll do a straw poll here. We've gone through the 5 criteria. Do board members feel that the testimony we've had discussing these five constitutes a application for a variance, pertinent to the proposed project. Not saying whether we approve it, but do we feel that we have complete information to constitute a request for a variance from the applicant for this project?
I think we have as much information as the applicant can possibly give us, and we are now tasked with looking at that need against our ordinance and seeing what we can do. And as you say, Rob, we can't in advance say it's approved. We have to go through this process,
right,
in order to validate the process.
I'll just make a general comment. I'm a newer member of the board. I think much of the criteria is, it's broad, it's open to interpretation by the board members.
Yes.
But if we're ever discussing a criteria, I think the key point today is safety in hazardous weather events. And it would be great if that was addressed more specifically too. I think that would be, if there were to be a revision here to criteria, I think that's a worthy additional criteria point, though it's easy to read that in from these more general criteria.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Catherine's comments are spot on, and we should move forward.
I'm not seeing anything from
Nothing
anybody
online?
Zoom.
Okay. I guess maybe just out of interest, one last question. How many of the units are like ADA accessible? Any of them in your condo complex? Like all of them?
Well, no, we have some that are,
You mean, that would be handicap
Yeah.
accessible as they are right
Yeah.
now? I don't think any right now.
so
Because we
I
have-
guess what do you?
Well, I mean, maybe not handicap accessible, but accessible to an elderly person where it's no steps, maybe going into the building one level or whatnot.
They're, the condos are each 2-story.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a very small step from the driveway up to each thing has about a 10-foot long, I don't know, 8-foot long walkway to the front door.
Mhm.
And then you just step 6 feet from 6 inches or 6
Yeah.
inches
Yeah.
into the house. So there,
Right.
it's definitely not, it's for old people.
Yeah.
Since we're all getting old now.
And some of them, you go right in and then you're into the hallway into your kitchen, living room.
Mhm.
Some have steps down, like 2 steps down to go in, just
Mhm.
because of the way the land is.
Yeah.
So like numbers 13 and 14, at the far end, you just walk in and you're right in.
Yeah.
Mine and yours, when we go in, you have 2 steps down to get to your
To the living room,
living
kitchen
room,
room.
kitchen area. Yeah. But there are none of them that are ADA accessible,
But
no
you've had-
handicap.
But we've had a number of elderly people living in these
Yeah.
units over the years that
Yeah.
need to access these trash receptacles. Absolutely.
Trying to
I
figure
would
out
say
the-
around half of us are over 60.
Okay.
I don't know what elderly is. but-
Yeah. It's hard to-
It gets later every year.
Yeah.
Meredith, what are we missing here?
If everybody else is good with the variance discussion and other things, the only thing I would need the board to make sure they don't have questions on is the whole landscaping question. I tried to parse it out, to that, I think there's enough here, given what the application is for. But I took a little bit of, I don't know, I used a little bit of my discretion, which I'm not really supposed to have, on how I'm applying the total site landscaping. Because I have some authority to waive in some instances certain application requirements, right? So pieces of paper that get submitted with the application. So I did not require a full landscaping plan for this application, because the information I was able to pull seemed to show that they had at least very, very close to the total site landscaping requirements, especially given that they're not proposing to change the total impervious cover. And there's not really room to add more landscaping on this parcel. But the board would really need to back that conclusion up. So if you feel good with what I've pulled together in the staff report, then great. But if you have questions on that for the applicant, or if you want to explore the potential condition options as to whether or not you would want them to submit a full landscaping plan ahead of the permit, if you were to grant a permit, there's just a little bit there to maybe just make sure you look at and see if you have any questions on.
I just have a question about, when you say landscaping, are you talking about we have a small garden in front of it, and we have on the other, is that what you're talking
So,
about?
well, it's really everything. So when the regulations were rewritten in 2018, they took a look at landscaping as trees, shrubs, perennial gardens, all of that, and had a new calculation for how much planted area should be on every parcel, depending on how much impervious cover, right? How much asphalt, gravel, buildings are on a parcel. And so the more impervious cover you have, the more landscaping you should have to soften it and to, keep things cool, screen it, all of it all together. And so I tried to pull from Google Images and everything, get a count of the hedge you have, the different trees that are on the property, things like that, and tried to come up with a calculation to see where it would lie. And it looks really close to meeting this total site landscaping requirement. It wasn't, I didn't go out and actually count everything and measure everything for height to figure out if it was a tall or a medium or a small tree, but I did a guess, educated guess on it. So that's it's one of those requirements that comes into play every time somebody is making a change to the site, when it's something that's more than just a single or two-family home on a parcel. But when your condominium development was created, it didn't have to meet these standards, right? So this is really the first time you've come back since we've had these standards that we've had to look at them.
And we have a very, I don't know if you went and looked, but we have a lot of gardening.
Yeah, well, and that's I pulled in here into the staff report that you have, you have the gardens out on
Cross Street, and then we
Yep.
also have a large garden we had two very large trees that were in the front on North Franklin that were getting dangerously large. We cut those down, but we replaced them with other trees that would not grow as large. And I am a passionate gardener, and I have done lots and lots of gardening.
Yeah, so I tried to pull everything like that I could into it. So it's just something where the board has to figure out, because it's also, you're not building a new structure, right? Not really, you kind of are, but you're not adding to the impervious cover.
So, I guess my question is, I've seen the pictures. The staff report indicates that your landscaping is probably better than many other similar properties, in Montpelier. Would you be amenable to a condition, of the sense that sort of required you to keep it maintained to that, to that level?
We do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So
That would just be a condition within the,
Oh, yes,
within the approval.
because we're not going to not do that, so.
So it might be have a actual landscaping plan filed with, so for future zoning permits, we actually have that on record, or just because I don't actually.
No,
have
I
it
understand what you're
documented.
saying. I would say we could condition it so that the plan could be submitted post-construction.
Okay.
To give you folks some time to put it together, and not requiring the services of a licensed
Yeah,
landscape
no,
architect.
just drawn.
So you would want just a drawing of the landscape both in the front and the back.
Of what's there, yeah.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
No
What I like
problem.
to say this, we love colored pencils and an 8.5 by 11 paper, and just show us where things are. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
there you
have
go.
lots of photos too, so.
Awesome.
So when do you want that?
Well, we'll, we
You're
have to
gonna
find
come-
out if the whole thing is actually approved
Okay.
first, which I'm guessing will probably be deliberative session.
Yeah, we will, every application, in this format, we've sort of discussed after we're in a deliberative session, so we will, discuss and
Yeah.
whatnot, so.
Let us know what you want.
That's
We
a,
will-
that's a COVID response. We're working under COVID rules. And so everything gets adjourned to the special session.
Mhm.
Whereas in before times and hopefully in the times to come, we'll make those decisions tonight. Otherwise.
So what, I'm just wondering, are we at a point where you're gonna tell us our next step?
We'll get there. We've got to.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I'll just do one more. Board members have any other questions or a motion or a comment or anything? I guess it would give you a few minutes if you have any closing remarks or whatnot.
Yeah, this has been a really nice conversation. I appreciate that, the give and take and your openness to make this work with our community.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes, and the fact that the landscaping part came up is extremely important to us.
Okay.
More so than most any other condo association I can imagine. But that, yeah, it's the safety. That's the thing that's driving us crazy. And as we're getting older and I worry about just even in any time falling, but especially with the ice and snow there. And I'm not the oldest person there.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would make the motion to close the public hearing on 1 North Franklin Street and adjourn to deliberative session at the end of our meeting this evening.
Motion by Kevin,
Second by Joe.
second by Joe. Well, and all right, we will go for the vote. So get my list up here. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and myself, Rob, votes yes. That motion is approved unanimously, and we will take this up at the deliberative session at the end of our regular meeting. So the next regularly scheduled meeting we have of the DRB is on January 3rd.
Nope. We don't have an application for January 3rd, but we weren't aware of that
Well,
until
that's-
Friday.
that's
So
good.
our next meeting will actually be Tuesday, January 18th.
Oh, perfect.
Oh.
Great.
Right.
Well, we thank you very much for coming out this evening and
And is there anything else you need from us, or we just wait to hear what your decision is?
so Meredith can brief you on the exact timeline of, when you'll get a decision.
Just 1 second. I've got to write something else. So the chances, the deliberative session is going to happen right after this meeting. Okay. And chances are good there'll be a vote. I'll be in touch. But the actual decision will be a written decision that'll need to come out. So there'll be some time on that, especially with the holidays, but we will do our best to get to it, just get it to you as soon as possible, but you will hear from me verbally as soon as I can,
Okay.
just so you have a sense of what to expect.
And then obviously, we're not going to do anything till the spring anyway. We can't do anything
Yeah.
until the spring, so.
No.
What?
Can we?
What?
We're not gonna dig holes.
I was set to build a roof, please.
You can't dig holes there to put the roof up.
We don't dig holes.
I don't need to dig
He doesn't need to dig holes.
Never mind. I thought-
Okay.
You
Well,
should get that,
I know nothing about construction. I will
you
not-
should get that covered as fast as you can.
Just gardening.
You really should.
I would like to.
Well, So after a decision comes out, there's a 30-day appeal period after that. But nobody has been here, right, to contest it. So, I'll talk to you, but it's, well,
It's unlikely. that
it's
there would
it's
be any-
unlikely that there would be anybody who would appeal.
Right.
Thank you
So-
so much for hearing us out.
Take care.
and,
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a lovely night.
So, any other business?
We've already talked about,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, and I just sent out the deliberative session link to everybody who's on via Zoom.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Yeah, no other business.
Okay. So, then I'll make the motion to adjourn for this evening.
Second?
We have motion by Kevin and a second by Catherine. Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Abby,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
Rob votes yes. We are adjourned unanimously.
All right, check your email if it hasn't come in yet, but you should get the link to the deliberative session and we'll see you there.
Yes, are we not able to do,